This is a game I made in one school day. So starting off, all I have to make this is my brother's old laptop, so I decided to connect to my home PC using an app so I could work faster, although this meant I needed Wi-Fi, meaning I couldn't do much on the bus. I did connect in the last few minutes, so I was able to start a basic movement script. My first class was AP Seminar, but since AP exams already passed and we also had a sub, I had the entire class to work on the game. First thing I did was finish the movement, then I started to work on the enemies. So the idea for the game was to have slimes, mainly because they're super easy to model and animate, and so they would chase you around and you would have to avoid slimes of different colors and merge with slimes of the same color. So after some debugging, now we got a basic cube chasing a cube. Next I decided I wanted the colors to switch every few seconds to make the game more interesting, so I worked on that for a bit, and then I started working on spawning, but
What is this, bro?
So next I had advisory for 15 minutes, so I managed to finish the color switching thing, and I also added a score, but that's all I had time for. My second period was PLT, which is basically just a free/study period. My plan is to finish all the gameplay stuff this period and do art and polishing later, because I'm not sure how much time I'll have the last two periods. I did add this tile texture for a bit of polishing though. I realized that the gameplay is pretty boring, so I added this jump feature that kills surrounding slimes, and now it works perfectly fine. Last thing I did was add a game over screen, so now the game loop is finished, giving me the next two periods to work on sprites and polish. Okay, so my next class was math, and for the first half the teacher gave a lecture, and luckily enough he didn't ask us to close our Chromebooks, which he usually does, so I spent that time making models for the slimes. That brought us to lunch, and even though I was charging it for the entire day, the Mac already was on low battery since I didn't have an outlet that period, so I let it charge during lunch. For the second half of class we had to do some practice problems, so I did those at home and I used the time to work on the game, starting with putting the actual model in the game on the player and then on the other slimes. I started to make these poof clouds to hide when a slime died, but I got a little sidetracked making a toon shader, although I did kind of forget how to make those.
I can make a toon shader with an unlit shader graph. Main light direction, which essentially tells us
I basically finished the toon shader, but that's all I had time for when the period ended. The first thing I did last period was model a crown for the player so it was more obvious who the player was controlling. Most of this class ended up being review for stuff we already took notes on, so I had a lot of time. I applied the toon shader and found a font on Google, and the game was pretty much done. The rest of the time I spent on other polish stuff like making a vignette for the color switch, but then that's all I had time for because my ride home also didn't have Wi-Fi.
And that's a